concert T-shirt was out there loitering around the cars that were angle parked on the street. "Kid's going to get himself in trouble someday," she said. At 15, the gawky boy was all brains. He'd just graduated from high school, nearly 2 years early, but no common sense. Also, from what I'd heard, Harold's home life left plenty to be desired, but that wasn't the point right now. What's he doing anyway? I wondered aloud. Beyond the window, Harold sidled casually along, squinting from side to side and then glancing around to see if he'd been observed. "Heaven knows," Ellie replied. "Statistical study of the ages and models of Eastport cars, maybe? Or he's planning how to steal one." Harold was the type who could add columns of numbers in his head, fast. The last time he'd done a statistical study, as he called them, he'd been 12. It had been of the number of seagull landings on the Eastport dock hour by hour for a whole day. So Ellie's first idea, some kind of research, wasn't out of the question, and I hoped it was something like that. But the way Harold kept eyeing the storefront doors he passed worried me, because Harold had also become fascinated with locks lately. Picking them, mostly. "You know Harold has never stolen anything," I said. "He just likes, I don't know, the challenge, I guess." Harold himself had spent an hour explaining this to me recently. Meanwhile, surrounding several raspberry chocolate scones and enough Pepsi to float a barge. He was a good kid, just confused by the amount of brain power he'd been burdened with, and unsure what to do with it. I looked out once more. No Harold. "Anyway, he's gone." Ellie said skeptically, but then she looked around at our shop, and her face softened. With exposed red brick walls, a vintage pressed tin ceiling, and a century-old paddle-bladed fan stirring the sweet-smelling air, the chocolate mousse was a lot of work, but it was also a labor of love. "And right now, it's showtime." She unlocked the shop's front door and turned the closed sign to open. "But when I see that Brad Fairway guy, he'd better—" "Watch out," her tone finished for her. She'd have said it herself, but just then the silver bell over the shop door tinkled brightly, and our first customer of the day bustled in. "Oh, cheesecake!" Emily Prager said delightedly, approaching the display case. She was a tall, angular woman with steel gray hair and ruddy cheeks, and today she was carrying a big straw bag over her freckled arm. And Emily liked to talk, so this was my chance. Take the bull by the horns and so on. "I'll be right back," I said. Outside, welcome warmth poured from the sky. After the winter we'd had, 70 degrees felt tropical. Around me, shopkeepers were planting more red and white geraniums in tubs and window boxes. A police car slowed in front of me. The driver leaned over toward his open passenger side window. "You ready for all this?" asked Bob Arnold. He was a big, bearish man, round-faced and pink-cheeked, with pale blue eyes, rosebud lips, and a deeply dimpled chin. "All set." I waved toward the fish pier parking lot across the street from the hardware store. Tents, tables, and display racks were getting set up by volunteers. Past them, I could just glimpse the pink-fringed awning over our own sales table fluttering in the breeze. Meanwhile, the emptied vans and pickup trucks that had hauled all the artwork into the display area now began pulling out, or trying. There were so many that a traffic jam had developed. "That's my cue," Bob said, seeing the confusion, and when he'd gone, I finished crossing the street. "Chocos," read the crisp black lettering on the brand-new front window. I stomped up the shop's granite steps and went inside, where the main room's vintage tin ceiling had been torn down, and finely milled woodwork no longer trimmed windows and doors, and the venerable old horsehair plaster walls had had foil wallpaper slapped onto them.